How to fix the WWE.
Let's talk about that.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 3 of episode 82 of Top Rope Rowdy right here on the YouTube. I'm Mike Hogan.
And I'm Jessica.
So let's talk about how to fix the WWE. We went back to the warehouse, we put on our thinking caps, and we thought this past week of how we fix the WWE to improve the ratings, to improve the viewership, to improve the product overall.
I got in the DeLorean, went back to the future, and thought, you know what? We gotta take a hodgepodge of things that worked in the past. You don't want the Attitude Era all over again,
you don't.
but you gotta take a hodgepodge of things, and you mesh together what works, people.
Yes.
And here's my opinion. Here's number one topic. Number one topic. 2 hours. Wrong. Not 3. 2 hours. Because every
that
week
was on my
now,
list as well, yes.
every week the
Shrink
third
it down.
hour, I'm not talking about shrinkage. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, every week the third hour does horrible ratings. They always drop very far. So, 2 hours. Let's go back to the traditional 2 hours.
And start at 8 Central Time.
There you go.
8 to 10.
There you go.
I mean, I understand when you did it when you were competing against WCW, because Nitro went 3 hours. So you have to go 3 hours. But Nitro's not around anymore. WCW's not around anymore. And TNA is not even going to smell Mondays ever again.
Ever again. That was a horrible, horrible situation.
So, I mean, shrink Raw back to 2 hours.
2 hours.
It will not hurt it, trust me.
Exactly. That's number one with a bullet. Is you got to go to 2 hours. Okay? Next thing is you gotta have, and this is my thing, this is what I want. I believe you need 2 different rosters. They've got enough people. I believe that they can pull in some more people to build up the rosters, and they need 2 rosters.
They have enough to do 2 rosters.
Because I did a little testing of my own. I wrote it down somewhere, and I never can find anything. But anyway, and I split the rosters up. Exactly, I split the rosters up, try to make it even with the belts and everything. And I did it the old traditional way of only having 1 title belt, and that
there should be only 1 more title belt.
The WWE World Title is defended between both shows.
Yep.
That champion, just like when they first did the draft, when it was Vince and Flair was in charge, that person was allowed on every show, and so was the women's champion. And that's the same thing that the tag team champions should be 2 tag team title belts. 1 tag team title belt. So the world title, women's title, and the tag team titles, whoever those champions are can go back and forth to either show.
Yes.
And, those people on those shows all have opportunities towards the belts. And then you just make the IC title exclusive to 1 show and the US title exclusive to 1 show.
Yes.
So each show has their own brand champion. Just like in the territory days, that territory had a world champion or a territory champion, and then the NWA world champion came into play and came in to fight that territory champion, made that territory champion look good. So you build your brand around the US and the IC title. That way it builds up not only the brand, but it builds up those 2 belts.
Oh, yes.
And you have your championship, but in my opinion, you need to have it to where the world champion, the women's champion, and the tag team champions, they don't have to be on every show, on both shows. They don't have to.
They don't have to be, no, you're right.
And they also don't have to wrestle at those shows. Okay, so like, let's say if it was Seth Rollins and he was on both, he was the champion. You know, he could be on Raw this week, and then not be on SmackDown that week. But then the next week he doesn't have to be on Raw, and they could announce on that Raw, ladies and gentlemen, tune in to SmackDown because whoever the number one contender is might be from SmackDown, so he's going to go confront the number one contender.
Yeah.
And so you build up, hey, go over here, watch this, here's where the world champion's going to be at. And it brings eyes to over here. That's one thing. I believe there needs to be a draft, and there needs to be two different brands.
And they both need to be live.
Yes.
Raw and SmackDown has to be live.
They do need to both be live.
You need to go in there and start handing out pink slips to every freaking writer you got now. A whole new writing corps. And you say, hey, you put restraints on them. If the job is not being done, we drop below this, you're getting fired. Fire them. I mean, make them feel like, hey, I've got to do right or I'm going to lose my job.
Right. Like, don't drop the ball because you're going to lose your job. Because they don't have any incentive right now.
They don't. And I'd put Paul Heyman over there, over creative. You'd have to bite the bullet. I mean, Vince and his ego, you'd have to, hey, put some fresh brains in there. Fresh ideals in there. Even though I know people go, well, there's never a fresh idea. Well, yeah, there's never a fresh idea in wrestling. You're right. But hey, let's review stuff that happened 6, 7, 10 years ago.
And
let's bring it back and bring a new spin on it. Yes.
Because you could take, I honestly believe, talking about putting.
And we also need no more authority figures over anybody.
Gotcha.
One person. When you had Gorilla Monsoon or you had Jack
like
Tunney,
president.
Yeah, that's all you need. People go, well, we know it's Vince's own the company. Fine. Have Hunter then. But Hunter ain't going to be part of nothing. He is only going to be there
for big announcements.
For big announcements,
yeah.
Yes. He's not part of storylines unless he's announcing who's facing the champion or he's announcing this. I'm sorry. Or have Stephanie. But you don't need both. No authority, nobody joining them or nothing. They only show up when they're needed for big announcements, and that's it.
Yep. I had something. Well, because my thought process was if we did the draft situation, you'd have the two general managers. But
it's been done to death.
Oh, it has been. But if you do the general managers, they don't have to be on there every week. Like, to me, Teddy Long wasn't on there every week.
Who would you get to bring in?
I
mean, we can't have the same, Flair,
I got this.
Hunter,
No. I done wrote it down.
Mick Foley again?
No, done wrote it down. You take someone off the commentary team, because I changed up the commentary teams when I wrote this stuff
That's
up.
another thing, too, you need to change up.
Yep.
And you also need to change up the freaking way Raw looks. Raw hasn't had any big changes, set design changes.
Because they do that daggum LED board for both shows now. They do.
Because they also do it for Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views. So pay-per-views don't feel special
no,
because it all looks the same.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that it's going to cost you no money. I'm sorry that it's easier for people to do stuff. But easy doesn't always work out for you. Just what you are now.
Well, see, and this is what I looked at. I looked at taking a person off the commentary team. I looked at Raw needed to be Michael Cole and Byron Saxton. Just two people. I'm okay with a 3-man team, but not both shows. So Raw is Michael Cole and Byron Saxton. Mm-hmm. SmackDown would be that Rich Brennan guy.
Yeah.
Booker T, and Jerry Lawler.
So you're doing 3 on SmackDown.
3 on SmackDown to be different.
It is different.
But both shows don't need to have the same look. Don't have to have the same sound. So you have 2 on Raw and 3 on SmackDown.
Well, I like.
But you see who I'm missing? You're missing JBL.
You're missing JBL.
SmackDown's general manager would be JBL. That's where his home was before. I think he would be a good authority figure that doesn't have to be around a lot. He's always climbing those mountains. He ain't gonna be there every week. He already did the whole GM for NXT thing. He wasn't always there. Okay, and then the Raw general manager. Yes, it's been outdone, but this person would not get involved. This person would not jump into every little situation, and they don't have to be in storylines, and they could show up once, twice a month to just make a big announcement. And that person is the man they call Sting. That would be different.
It would be different.
He doesn't have to wear the makeup. He could come out just as Sting without the makeup, be the general manager, doesn't have to wrestle, he could still be around. Now that's if you go the general manager route. That's how you could do that, and it changes up your commentary team by taking somebody out of there.
Yes.
But that's the way I would do that. Like I said, I would do a draft situation, and I would change people around, put some different people, and shock some people. Like when I did the draft, how I did the mock draft is I kept the Wyatt family together except for one person. The Wyatt family went to SmackDown, and one person from the Wyatt family went to Raw. That means that they're going to have a focus put on them on Raw, where they could finally be built up, and that is Luke Harper, because he's the only one out of the four that need to be by themselves. You know, because Bray Wyatt's the leader, but Luke Harper could go by himself, and they could build him up. Eric Rowan just be fired.
Something else on Raw you could change. For God's sakes, you know something's going to happen at the start of the show.
Yep.
Something's going to happen at the main event of the show.
Yep.
And something's going to happen every hour of the show.
Yep.
Change that crap up. Don't let people be so predictable.
Yeah.
You don't know when something's. You got to watch every hour.
Yeah.
Every 2 hours. You have to watch every minute, every second, because you don't know who's going to show up.
Well, see,
what's going to happen.
I've been watching here lately. I've been watching on my phone. I've been watching Raws from 2002 after the initial draft happened, and Ric Flair had Raw.
All right.
And Vince was in charge of SmackDown. And some weeks, Flair might start the show. He might come out. He might talk to you. He might have something to say. Or some weeks it might be somebody else come out and talk. But then some weeks, Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, welcome to Monday Night Raw. We're live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, whatever. And then all of a sudden, boom, music starts. A wrestler comes out, and this is your opening contest. It started out with a match, and then after the first match, then a promo happened. Nothing wrong with starting the show out with a wrestling match. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. It changes things out.
You have 4 weeks. Hey, at least 2 of those weeks split. Start with a match.
There you go. And here's another.
If you want to wait till the second hour to do your promo.
Yeah.
Whole first hour of the show, it's wrestling. Wrestling.
Yeah, I love the 2002 time period. I've been watching that Raw, and just how they have everything set up, and I love some of the backstage stuff. This was when Hogan was undisputed champion, and Undertaker was going after the belt. Undertaker came to Raw. He had his motorcycle. He drove his motorcycle up backstage, and he looked at the backstage hand and said, "Watch my bike. I won't be long. I'll be back in a minute." When he walks away from his bike, they pan out, and they look, and Big Show and X-Pac and Scott Hall are all standing there as the NWO, hanging out talking. What are they talking about? Oh, that's interesting. I can't hear them. What are they doing? And then they went away, and then they come back later, and they added more layers to the story, and Undertaker comes back, and he's looking around everywhere, and he cannot find his bike. He looks at the stagehand, where'd my bike go? And the stagehand says he took it. Who's he? Undertaker asks him who he is, and then the stagehand says, Hogan. Okay, that adds to it. So of course Hogan drives the bike out there, and then, but see, as Undertaker got pissed, and he tells the guy to run off, and he walks away or whatever, all of a sudden a limousine rides up. It's almost like, okay, there's 2 scenes, but it's at the same.
Exactly.
It's right behind each other. There's not enough backstage stuff besides, oh, here's the set right here. Let me ask you a question.
That's pretty much what they do.
Here's an interview. They don't do stuff backstage where they run into a locker room and beat each other up, or run backstage and see each other, or drive up to a limo. Who could it be? Stuff like that.
You can start the show off, have a limousine pull up. No one gets out.
And all night long, you just go back there.
You also promote that Hunter or whoever the general manager or president is going to be here at the top of the hour to announce something. Or the first set of matches, something didn't happen in those matches, builds up for the main event later tonight.
Right.
But they don't do that anymore.
Exactly.
They open the show, they make the main event, and we go from there. We get the promo. Then we have 2 matches or 3, depending on how quick they are. Then the top of the hour, something else happens. And then we have a couple, and then something else happens. Right. And then we have the main event.
Exactly.
And then either the faces usually win, or,
it's the same thing over and over again every week. It doesn't change. But I mean, in our ideas, our challenges to WWE to say, hey, this is what you need to do. They're simple, just small changes.
Yes.
It doesn't take much at all. But anyway, that's all I have for my stuff.
I mean, just a few tweaks. I mean, change things up. Don't make it so damn predictable.
True.
Because that's what it is now. And we're talking about predictability. Survivor Series coming up. And we're gonna finish up on part 2 next week with the Survivor Series. And then on next week's we're going to talk about this year's Survivor Series.
Hopefully we can
We're
go
going
some
to
more
talk
matches.
about the matches. We're going to make our predictions, which the tournament should be, because it's so predictable, we pretty much know who's going to win the tournament.
Yes.
Because of what they want. And what they're going to get is not what they want. Trust me on that.
Yep.
So join us next week on part 3 of Let's Talk About That as we make our predictions for SummerSlam 2015.
Our Survivor Series, actually.
Survivor Series, yeah.
SS, same thing.
SS. Be glad we get to R.
SS Intrepid. USS, or however you say it.
That's right, yes. You're right.
Whatever.
Well, that is it for this week. I'm Mike Hogan.
And I'm just a car.
Thanks again for watching. Let's talk about that right here at Top Rope Reality. Join us for part 4 of the list.
That does not miss.
We'll see you in a few clicks. A heartbeat?